So today I'm here with Michelle. Michelle and I are going to be talking about um, what is the benefit of a buyer's agent. Now, just so you guys know, Michelle is one of the top agents in the Dallas-Fort Worth area. And when we talk today about what is the benefit of a buyer's agent, we're not going to be talking about all buyer's agents. And I say that because they're not all created equally. Michelle, can you talk about like a lot of the horror stories I hear, it's because people are working with agents that they never interviewed. Can you walk me through what you would suggest buyers look for before they sign anything with an agent?
Yes. First, you want to do your homework, just like anything else. Just like you're going to do your homework in a house, you want to do your homework on an agent. Make sure that they're a full-time agent, that they're going to have availability for you. Make sure that they have good communication. Make sure they have experience. New agents aren't going to be able to help you negotiate through a contract. They're not going to know what to ask for on the other side. And you want to make sure that they have great reviews. Go on Google, go on Zillow, go on different social media and look for their reviews. Their past clients will tell you if they're good or not. You want somebody who has many reviews and a lot of 5-star reviews.
So Zillow is not my favorite platform because they have, they basically, if you click a thing, you get an agent that's paid for you as a lead, or they're taking a cut of their commission. Then they're pushing you to Zillow Mortgage to get more leads. But Zillow has good data on how many sales an agent has done. So would you say if someone's starting to look in the market, like start by looking at how many houses they're selling? If an agent hasn't sold a house in a year, let's say you're buying a second home in Florida, you're going to come be near me, it's going to be great. Would you work with an agent that hasn't sold a house in a year?
I wouldn't recommend my friends or my family work with them. They don't know the current trends of the market. They don't know what's going on in different cities. They don't even know what's happened recently in our industry. I wouldn't suggest it.
So the other thing that buyers ask me a lot is, sometimes they haven't gone to Zillow, but they're like, the agent said they've been an agent for 30 years, so they're experienced, right? Would you be comfortable if a buyer said to you, right, because they should interview you, but if they said, hey, Michelle, how many houses have you sold within the last 12 months? Would you be offended by that question?
No, I would be happy to answer that question because they're well informed and they're asking the right questions. And so we've sold 50 homes this year, and you want somebody that is selling consistently because they know what the market looks like and they know how to best help you.
And then the next question I would always recommend is, and I don't know if you know this, when did you close the last house?
On Friday, and today is Monday morning.
Okay, so you did it, yeah, like a couple days ago, which is you couldn't close on a Saturday or Sunday. So buyers should be comfortable asking those questions. Now, when I think about you, or if I ever recommend you to a client, it's always the first thing that comes to my mind is that you're a shark when it comes to negotiations, and you're not a crybaby. Like if we need closing costs or something else, I've never heard you say impossible. You usually light up with the challenge. So negotiations, it's really like, wouldn't you say that's your biggest value add, is your ability to negotiate?
I would absolutely say negotiations. I've worked in consulting in the past. I really enjoy negotiations, and you want to find an agent that's going to know the contract inside and out, because it's not just about the price. It's about the seller concessions as well, as you mentioned, but it's about every term in the contract that can save them money or benefit them in the long run.
Well, and I'm going to tell you something that I know will scare you, because I've told you stuff before where you're like, wait, what? Um, there's a lot of agents that don't actually understand the contract, and they just know what boxes to fill out. I'm not kidding. So they can't explain the contract to a client. Now, when you're writing an offer for a client for that first time, are you just going to email it to them, or are you going to be walking them through it?
So they actually get walked through it twice, because on the initial buyer's consult, we're going over, of course, what they're looking for, what is the ideal house for them, all the wonderful things that go into their home search. but we're also going over the offer and what to expect, because you don't want them to find the perfect house, go to put in an offer, and then realize that they have to put down option and earnest money within the first 3 days of going under contract. So I'm going over everything that goes into an offer on the first buyer's consult before we go look at homes. And then we're going over the offer before we send it again, just to make sure they understand what it means to them.
And then, so the buyer's broker agreement everyone's talking about. Now, do you have the buyer sign this before you do your buyer consult? Or is this something you would talk to them about sign? I know you're laughing at me, but people you don't understand. I get these calls and people are like, Jen, I clicked a button. I wanted to see a house. They told me I had to sign this before I went and saw the house. And then I saw your video and I realized what I signed. So, Michelle, when would you have somebody sign a buyer's broker agreement with you?
So nationally, aside from Colorado, nationally, they have to sign it before they tour a house. We do have a buyer's consult to explain everything and explain all the documents that they're going to read. So after the buyer's consult, but before they see a house is when they will sign.
Okay, so you're taking some time to find out what the buyer's needs are, to answer any questions, to go through what to expect with buying a house before they're having to make that decision if they want to continue working with you. Is that accurate?
That's very accurate. And I understand, like, if they call me and they're like, I want to see a house, we can do a restricted buyer's agent agreement, because you don't know me yet. We did a buyer's consult. That doesn't mean you truly know me, like me, and trust me enough to buy a house with me. So we can do one for one day for a specific house. We can limit it until you're ready, and then we sign a full buyer's consult. Most of the time we sign a full one because we do have some time that we're developing a relationship before we start seeing houses.
Right. But if someone was in a pinch, you would, do a buyer's agreement for a shorter period of time. You're not going to try to have someone sign a 6-month, you know, agreement with you before they've even talked to you for longer than 3 minutes.
That's right.
Okay. And then the next question buyers have right now, and they're really scared about is, well, shoot, if I can't afford that commission out of my pocket, should I just wait and save more? So, how are you helping your buyers that don't have the cash to pay the agent's commission out of pocket? Or are you not working with people that can't afford to do that? What are you doing?
So we work with everyone. We work with, half of our clients are VA. I've said it many times, my goal is to give them keys and a check at closing. So we do everything in our power to get our buyer's agent commission paid for, and as many seller concessions as we can. I've sold hundreds of homes, and I've never had a buyer pay a buyer agent commission thus far, and we're always going to negotiate for the other side to pay. If for some reason, and it's always a negotiation, if for some reason the seller decides that they're not going to budge on it, and that's what their bottom dollar is, we're going to go and we're going to tell our buyer first, hey, here's where we're at. How would you like to proceed? And explain everything to them, right? We explain it in the buyer's consult, but it's very different when it's on a house that they love. Let's talk about it. And we go through and we make sure with their lender that they can pay for it if that's what they choose.
Mm-hmm. So basically what you're saying is, look, it's a negotiation, right? And it's always up to the buyer if they want you to try to negotiate for the commission. Some people may choose to pay it. I have yet to see any buyers want to do that personally, but you're happy to show them houses. Any house they want to see, you're going to show it. And if they want to write an offer, you're going to negotiate.
That's right.
Okay. It sounds simple, but I'm already hearing stories around the country where agents are telling buyers, hey, if you don't have the money, you need to go save it and come back. Or they're saying, I'll only show you houses if I can call the agent beforehand and make sure they're paying, all of which violates the DOJ lawsuit. But, I think it's important for people to know, hey, Michelle's one of the top real estate agents in Dallas, Fort Worth. And if it's worth her time and she thinks that I can negotiate, I shouldn't give up my hope of home ownership dreams because I talked to some agent that probably sold a house in 22.
I haven't not been able to negotiate my buyer agent commission yet. Every seller has been able to cover it, and I haven't asked for it from one buyer yet.
Okay. And then, look, I think the benefit of a great buyer's agent, at least from what I've seen with you, is the negotiating. The negotiating is just unparalleled. Whether you're trying to get something extra, you're trying to get closing costs, or you're trying to protect the buyer, that's huge. But then are you also, the buyer orders inspections. Are you reviewing the inspections and suggesting what's a realistic negotiation and not?
We are at every inspection, so we know how best to negotiate it. I know a lot of buyer's agents that don't go to inspection and they just phone it in. You actually want to see what's wrong to best negotiate it. And you want to hire a buyer's agent with experience so they know what's expensive. What are those expensive repairs that they need to negotiate for you so you don't have a problem down the road.
So do you think that's a fair question to ask is, hey, will you be at the home inspection?
Yes, it's a very fair, and even if you're buying from out of state, I think it's even more important for your agent to be there on site, looking at what the repairs are and knowing how to negotiate and telling the other side what they need to do.
So I'm putting you on the spot, but if you thought about what is the biggest mistake that you think first-time home buyers, not first-time home buyers who come to you, but just in general, what is the biggest mistake that first-time home buyers make when it comes to real estate agents, right? What do you think that is?
They don't do their homework on who they decide to work with. They work with a friend of a friend of a friend, and they don't look at who has experience. Who is a lot of times there's part-time agents. Most of our market right now, they're doing one deal a year. Nothing against those agents, nothing against them. But if they're working a full-time job somewhere else, are they going to have time to show you homes, to communicate, to guide you through the process? You want to make sure they're a full-time agent and one that has experience, that knows exactly what to look for and what terms to fight for you on throughout the process, so the deal benefits you the most.
I do agree. As a lender, one of the biggest issues that we have consistently is, it's when we get someone who's working with an agent, the buyer's wonderful, we fully underwrote them, but the agent's a nightmare. And there's different types of nightmares, right? There's the nightmare because they sell one house every 4 years, so they don't know what they're doing. But then you also have the nightmare where they sell 4 houses a year and they think they're an expert. So, you know, if someone said to you, because I'm recommending that people interview a couple different agents now just to really see who they click with. If someone said to you, hey, Michelle, I'm going to interview you and a couple other agents, would you be happy to do that? Or would you be like, no, I'm too good for this. Go read my reviews. I'm amazing.
No, it's very common in our market to interview a few agents and pick the one that's best for you, the one that's really gonna benefit you the most. This is your biggest transaction of your life many times. It's your biggest asset, and you want somebody that's going to represent you the best.
Okay, and then last question. I think you and I are pretty similar on reviews in that we think they're very important. We work really hard so that our clients will leave us a nice review so that other people know. Let's say that once again, you're going to come by a house near me and someone recommends an agent and you talk to them and they're nice. You ask them how many houses they sold and they said, well, I've been a realtor for 30 years without answering the question, and they have no reviews. What would that tell you?
That would tell me that they probably do this part-time, that this it's not their priority, and that they just keep their license. They keep their license, but they're not up on the market. They don't know the trends. They don't have the market knowledge currently, and they're stuck in their ways from many years ago, and they won't know how best to negotiate a contract for you in today's
Yeah,
market.
and I think it's situations like that where it's like if you're on the Reddit threads, you'll see that people that really dislike real estate agents, they'll refer to them as door openers. And I would argue that there are a lot that are just opening doors, but if you find the ones that can really negotiate and that will watch out for your best interest and stop you from making huge mistakes like buying on a railroad, you know, it, it's worth its weight in gold. So I appreciate you being here. Everybody, Michelle's amazing. Dallas, Fort Worth area, reach out to her. She's the one that came up with the phone number thing, which I thought was brilliant. Michelle, any parting words?
No, I love working with you and your team. You guys are fantastic. And thank you for taking over my client from another lender the other day. They're super happy with you.
Oh, thank you. Well, I appreciate that greatly. Okay, everybody, call Michelle. Bye.
Bye.